Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Diamco, the MultiDimensional MD. Thank you for joining me today to review the 3 stages of adrenal fatigue. And the reason I want to go through this today is because I'm seeing so many people in my practice just really dragging, feeling tired, experiencing hormonal imbalances, trouble with weight, with sugar, and so many things. So I wanted to go through this so you could have a better understanding of what you might be going through or somebody in your family might be going through. And the more you understand about yourself, then the easier it is to take steps towards healing. So that's why I want to review adrenal fatigue today. And we're going to go through the 3 main stages. But before I do that, I want to go through what the adrenal gland does. They are these 2 glands, endocrine glands, on top of each of your kidneys, like little caps on top of your kidneys, and they produce many different kinds of hormones. So depending on the layer of the adrenal gland that you are talking about. So on the inner part of the adrenal gland, called the adrenal medulla, it produces catecholamines, which are adrenaline-like hormones that also act as neurotransmitters. That includes epinephrine and norepinephrine. So this area is highly innervated by the sympathetic nervous system. So when you are really stressed, experiencing fight or flight, then the sympathetic send messages to the adrenal medulla to release these catecholamines and adrenaline into your system to activate that fight or flight response. And then on the outer edge of the adrenal gland, that's called the adrenal cortex. There are 3 different layers. And if we're going from the inside out, the first layer there produces sex hormones and stores cholesterol to also produce sex hormones. The next layer produces mineralocorticoids, including cortisol, which is important for balancing the immune response. So if you have a lot of inflammation, then you actually do need some cortisol in your system. And it also helps respond. It's another big stress hormone. And then the outer part of that adrenal cortex produces hormones that are responsible for balancing your blood pressure, balancing your salt in your body. So when you are experiencing adrenal fatigue, it can affect so many different parts of your response to the world and how your physiology. And adrenal fatigue is really, it has several different names. So the regular term that most people say is adrenal fatigue, but it's also known as adrenal insufficiency. So that means that you're not able to produce the hormones you need in response to feel really good and balanced. And it's also known for physicians as what's called HPA axis dysfunction. So the HPA stands for hypothalamus pituitary. The A is for adrenal, axis dysfunction. So your hypothalamus and pituitary are up here in your head, and those are your master gland control, and it helps to control all your endocrine system. So when this axis is disrupted, so you get feedback. So your hypothalamus pituitary sends messages to your adrenal glands and to all the different endocrine glands. And then your endocrine glands also send feedback back, including your adrenals, back to the hypothalamus pituitary. So that it has a feedback loop. So when that axis is disrupted, that is also considered adrenal fatigue or adrenal insufficiency. And what are the signs of adrenal fatigue? There are so many. Some of them I mentioned before, but a lot of it's like you can feel tired or just really fatigued and not really sure why, because maybe you're getting rest, but you're still feeling tired. You can feel really anxious and irritable and have trouble sleeping, even though you're tired. Because adrenals also produce sex hormones, and can affect just different parts of your menstrual cycle. It can also affect your libido. You could have weight gain, especially in the area around the abdomen. You could have blood pressure imbalances, whether low or high. You could experience hypoglycemic symptoms, so feeling kind of lightheaded or foggy brained, and feeling like you need to have some caffeine or sugar or salt to feel like you have enough energy, so you can have these cravings, and to feel like can get through the day. So if you go to a physician or a healthcare practitioner, how can they tell if you have adrenal fatigue? Well, they could just ask you about those questions, or about symptoms of adrenal fatigue, or if you had any concerns about any of those symptoms I mentioned before. You could also do labs to measure serial cortisol levels throughout the day, through a 24-hour period, and that will give you a pattern of what you could see how your adrenals are functioning, if it's functioning normally or optimally, or they're starting to get tired. And we're going to go through those different patterns. I can also feel like through an osteopathic assessment, because I can kind of feel how the organs are doing, how they're integrated with the rest of the body. So if the adrenals feel like they're just, they don't have as much oomph as maybe the other organs, or aren't feeling as integrated, then it gives me an idea if people have adrenal fatigue. And it's very common for anytime you're stressed, and that could be whether mental, emotional, or physical stress as well. You could have allergies, and so that's like a stressor to your body. You could also be going through things that are fun or celebrations, and it's just taking a lot of your energy. So you're using up your energy. So when I say that things are stressful, it doesn't always mean that things are bad in your life, that you're having going through negative things. You can actually be going through a lot of fun things, and it's still running you down. So there's also ways to figure out if you have adrenal fatigue without the labs. So that's part of what I wanted to go through with you today, to really kind of identify those 3 stages of adrenal fatigue. And it's really more of a gradient, a spectrum. So I'll kind of like categorize them in different ways, but that you can have some like variation through these different stages. So the first stage is this alarm stage. So the sirens are off, and you are really like pressing pedal to the metal. So if you're in a car, you are really pushing it. Okay. So I want to draw for you what the normal adrenal curve looks like. So these are your cortisol levels. And this is the morning when you wake up, and then bedtime. So you can see there, cortisol tends to be higher in the morning, and then it naturally goes down at night. So that's a normal level. So when you start in this stage 1, when the sirens are going off, it's this immediate reaction to stress. You're starting to feel anxious. Maybe you feel a little fatigued, but you can get away with having some chocolate, some coffee, some sugar to keep you going. So in those early stages, it might just look like this. So maybe you're still able to produce enough cortisol, one of your stress hormones, but it's just a little lower than usual. And then if you go on to stage 2, which tends to be when people start to seek me out, because the first stage, it's like they're still kind of going through and still able to function, but even though they starting to feel run down some. Stage 2, it's like you have this kind of stop and go. You can have a burst of energy, but then you'll fizzled out. So you're starting to run out of gas. So it can look like, depending on where in the spectrum you are, it could be that you're still kind of low in the morning, but then you kind of get this peak later on, and then it goes down. So you could have something like that. where you wake up and you're kind of tired, and maybe you still have like that afternoon slump. Like in the first stages, you might be kind of getting low there. But then towards later in the day, it's like you have this second wind, and that can keep you up at night. So you tend to be up late and be able to get stuff done at night, but then you crash, and then when you wake up in the morning, you're kind of low. So you don't wake up feeling refreshed. And that stage 2, they call it wired but tired. So you can have like your body is tired, but you can't sleep. And that's just such a terrible feeling, because it's like you can't let go so that you can get the rest that you need. And it's really because of what's going on with your hormone levels too. You could feel like you need a pick-me-up because you're just not getting the cortisol levels that you need. And then your weight is starting to increase in stage 2. And then in stage 3, so this is when you're really getting flat, and it's like you're barely getting up there. And sometimes I see people just really just running flat there. There's still a little bit going on, because if it was completely flat, that would really be a medical emergency. So that would be more stage 4 or beyond. But in this stage 3, it's like you have a flat tire. You wake up in the morning, you're not refreshed, you never get energy throughout the day, you don't get that second wind. It's nighttime, you still feel tired, and maybe you're still not getting restful sleep. You're still feeling irritable, but now you could be feeling really low in terms of your mood too. So the depression can be hitting like harder. The brain fog is more intense, and you're really having difficulty concentrating and making it through your day. So you may tend to want to just stay in bed all day long. And as it gets later into the stage 3, then your immune system is really going to start to feel it, because you seem to catch every cold or anything that's going around, just frequent illnesses. And so, of course, this is very important in terms of the pandemic, wanting to keep your immune system up. And you want to pick up the signs earlier on, which is why I wanted to go through it, so that maybe if you're in early stage 1 or 2, that you can start to do things to address adrenal fatigue before it really runs you down. Because when you're really run down, it just takes a bit more to get you back up to speed and to restore yourself. So if you can listen to your body and listen to those signs ahead of time or earlier on, then you can take some preventative measures, or just start to replenish. So what helps adrenal fatigue? Meaning, like, what helps you feel better from it? So the first thing would be a lot of nourishment. And nourishment in terms of foods, so getting really high nutrient foods, lots of greens. I'll tell people, just take a whole bunch of greens, just rotate them from whatever the produce section in the store, get a whole bunch, organic preferably, and cook them down, and then use them for your meals throughout the day. Just sprinkle them in different meals, and so that you can maybe like eat the whole bunch through the day. So you need B vitamins and minerals and vitamin C and antioxidants. If you want to take supplements, then you would be taking those things: B vitamins, minerals, vitamin C, phosphatidylserine. You can also be taking adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, rhodiola. The herb that you take really sort of depends on your constitution and how severe the adrenal fatigue is. I want you to concentrate on nourishing your body first, because even if you take these adaptogenic herbs that help to strengthen your endocrine system, strengthen your adrenals, if you are running low, like really low gas, and you're trying to like fluff those adrenals up, but you don't have the nutrients to do so, then it can still feel like a little bit of like caffeine, where it's not true energy. It's just you're pushing the gas pedal, but you're running on empty. So it's like this fake kind of energy that caffeine tends to give you. But of those adaptogenic herbs, I mean, ashwagandha tends to be really gentle. Rhodiola has a bit more of a punch to it. Holy basil also. And then since I see a lot of really sensitive people, then I rarely use the more potent adaptogenic herbs like ginseng, which really kind of like give you a big punch. But there are times to use that, and that's when people would be running really flat. But because I see a lot of people that are very sensitive, they tend not to be able to tolerate those things. So nourishment, you want to rest your body. You need so much rest. So if you feel like staying in bed, there's a reason for it. It's because you need to restore your energy. And so to prioritize and carve out time, if you need to take a nap in the day, that is okay. You might have to do that more in the beginning. You might have to get more sleep in the beginning. And, I know when we talk about enough, how many hours of sleep we need, that sometimes people say like too much sleep is not good for you. Well, when your adrenals are running really flat, those are the times where you actually may need that extra sleep, and that's okay. In terms of doing any exercise, you want to do some kind of slow restorative exercise like yin yoga, qigong, or tai chi. It's not a time to be running marathons or doing like HIIT exercises or really doing really intense workouts, cross training and stuff. So you want slow restorative exercises, ones where you can be really mindful of your body movement so that you can reestablish the mind-body connection. And that can be difficult. I know at times, a lot of times people, when you're anxious, you want to slow down. That's how you got in trouble in the first place with adrenal fatigues. You didn't want to slow down. So but it's those slower exercises that will help you heal, because it's what your body actually needs. So it's that listening to the body. And adrenal fatigue I don't think of it as a bad thing, because it is a plea from your body to please get rest. Please take care of yourself. Show yourself some love and nourishment. And it's time to slow down and really listen to yourself, because in terms of like the multidimensional aspects of adrenal fatigue, it's time to really just take note of your priorities. Are you doing what you really want to be doing? Are you spending majority of your time doing things that you feel are worthwhile? I know there are so many things that we have to get done in our to-do list, but if you knew you had a limited amount of time, would these be the things that you would be choosing to do? And are you sharing your gifts with the world? Are you expressing yourself and sharing your love with the world? So adrenal fatigue, it will build up over time. And if you don't listen to it, it makes you listen to yourself, because you have no other choice. It makes you stop and slow down, and you have to listen to your body. So pick up the small signs sooner than later, and go ahead and start to take steps to make those changes in your life so that you can feel better. And as always, this is all informational only. None of the information here is meant to be diagnostic or treatment. If you need to see anybody for treatment, then please see a qualified health practitioner. Nothing in this video is meant to diagnose, cure, or treat medical conditions, nor is it to be used as a substitute for advice from a qualified health practitioner. So please do that. And of course, I am here from you. I would be happy to see you. I love to see people just get that light back in their eyes, that sparkle, and really feel good in their bodies with presence and be able to live life more fully. So I'm here for you. If you'd like more information, just go to allworldshealth.com. If you want to follow me, you can do so on YouTube. So please subscribe, leave a comment, let me know where you're from. You can follow me on Instagram at All Worlds Health, or Facebook, All Worlds Health and Pediatrics, or on TikTok, the MultiDimensional MD. So thank you so much for joining me today. Wishing you lots of love and light and a beautiful day and week. And I will see you next time at 11 a.m. EST.